Build your structures to gain resources. Move your mighty beast to forage for you. And once the flood starts, hopefully you'll have your axe ready in the flood.
And today we'll be teaching you how to play The Flood, game designed by Elijah and Natalie Morar and published by Bedouin Games.
And hello everyone, it's Stella.
And Tarrant from the Dice Tower.
Let's get to the game.
In The Flood, players will follow the journey of Noah, racing to build an ark to save themselves from the incoming flood. Players will build structures and move their mighty beasts to gather resources, before using them on further structures and their arks, all in the aim of gaining the most faith points. As the game progresses, the weather will start to turn and the board will start to flood. And at the end of the 40th day, or once someone has loaded their animals onto a finished ark, the game will end and the player with the most faith points will be the winner. The Flood can be played in many modes, including Classic Mode, General Mode, and with modules including the Dino module, Solo Mode, or Cooperative. In this video, we'll be teaching you the competitive General Mode of play. We're showing you the deluxe edition of the game, which includes a number of these plastic minis in place of wooden pieces. To set up for General Mode, first assemble the board. You'll put together the circular frame, fill it up with all the hex tiles flipped over to the A sides, with the exception of the Dino tile, which you leave in the box, and place a random tool token onto each tile, rotated so that this white arrow lines up with this grey one. Spread the tools out so that there's no more than 2 consecutive tools of the same type anywhere on the map. Place an event token in each of these 8 spaces around the rim of the board, making a common supply of the leftovers. Place the lightning token, which serves as a turn tracker, on space 1 of the track. Also, if you're playing 2 players, place this token on space 22 and this one on 33. Separate all of the event cards into 3 piles. Those with these dots in the top corner, these are starter events. Those with this icon in the corner, these are Dino events and not used in this version of the game. And all of the rest. Shuffle each of these piles face down. Separate the story cards into level 1 and level 2. Again, separate and remove any showing the Dino icon in the top left corner. And shuffle and place each pile face down. Make face-up piles of the 5 different types of resource card, all showing this back. These are gopher wood, wool, tar, vegetables and limestone. Then make supplies of the dice, the animal token, the resource tokens and the faith tokens. Each player now chooses a colour and takes all of its matching pieces. This includes a player board, a Mighty Beast board and the matching Mighty Beast mini, and a base ring into which to slot it. You'll have 4 arc pieces and an arc placement token, 15 elephants, 3 camps, 3 huts and 3 caravans, a mine and a cargo upgrade, and 5 score tokens. With your 5 score tokens, place 1 on the bottom step of each of the 4 building bonus tracks, and 1 on the first step of the trade track. Place your mine on its slot of your beast board, leaving your cargo upgrade to the side, and add 1 elephant to the bottom step of the beast movement track. For green, place this unique bonus token here. For brown, place the king token here. Grey places these 2 discount tokens and this resource token here. While for blue, place this sliding token here, and note that you don't have a cargo upgrade and you don't start with an elephant on this board. From the starting event deck, deal each player 2 cards face down, returning the rest to the box, and give each player 1 of each resource card as a starting hand. Oldest player goes first, and in clockwise turn order, each player takes their arc placement token and places it onto a tile of their choice, returning the tool token there to the supply. Once all players are placed, then in reverse turn order, each player makes starting placements on the map. This will be your mighty beast, which goes onto your arc placement tile, and 3 elephants and a hut, which you must either place on the same tile or on any one of the 6 adjacent tiles. Any components that I haven't mentioned aren't used in this version of the game and can be returned to the box. You're now ready to play. The flood is played in turns, starting from the first player and going clockwise around the table. Your turn is resolved in 6 steps. First is draw a story card. You'll draw 1 story card and either resolve it or retain it for later. Second is activate a tile. You'll choose a tile where you have structures and activate it to gain resources. Third is to forage and move with your mighty beast. You'll gain resources from its tile and then move it in preparation for the next turn. These 2 steps collectively are how you gain your resources. Fourth is build and trade. You'll use or trade those resources you've just gained to construct the buildings showing on your player board. Fifth is to take 1 or more bonus actions. You'll use the resources you've got to upgrade your mighty beast board. And lastly is the end of your turn, where you'll score any bonuses that you've created and advance the turn marker, possibly unlocking effects. You'll continue taking turns around the table in this way until one of 2 things happens to trigger the end of the game. Either the lightning marker has reached space 40, or when one player has finished the arc and loaded it with animals. At this point, players will count up their faith points, which come from anything they've built and any faith tokens they've collected, and whoever has the most points will be the winner. So now let's have a look at each step in detail. The first step of your turn is to draw a story card. There are 2 story card decks, 1 and 2. And if the lightning marker is at step 18 or earlier, you'll draw from deck 1. If it's at 19 or later, you'll draw from deck 2. Upon drawing the card, if it has an immediate icon in the top middle, then resolve its effect and discard it now. If it has one of these icons in the top, then you get to add this card into your hand. You may then play this from your hand for its positive effect on any future step of a turn. 2 important story cards, of which there are multiple copies, are Sin and Mercy. Sin brings the flood sooner and you'll advance the lightning bolt to the next space on the track showing a lightning bolt icon. Mercy delays the flood and you'll move the marker back to the previous lightning bolt. Ignore all other icons on the turn track when you resolve these cards. The second step of your turn is to activate a tile, gaining resources. Choose any one tile where you have at least 1 structure, and these are strictly your huts and your camps. Elephants, caravans, and the ark do not count. Having chosen, gain resources matching that tile equal to 1 per hut and 2 per camp, up to a maximum of 3. So activating this tile would give me 1 vegetable, this one 2 gopher wood, and this one the maximum limit of 3 limestone. Add your new resources to your hand. There is no limit on your hand size, although there is a risk for holding too many resources at once, which we'll see later in the video. The third step is Mighty Beast foraging and movement. You'll resolve this in 2 steps. First foraging, then movement. You cannot go in the other order. The first sub-step is forage. To do this, your mighty beast must be on a tile which has a tool token which is pointing at any resource or benefit. Here, this one is pointing at the X, so foraging is not possible. Now gain 1 resource matching what can be foraged at that location, and rotate that tool token 1 step clockwise. Each tile has a total of 3 resources which can be foraged. After the third has been foraged, the 4th bonus would be an event. That is, if this beast foraged now, the beast would gain an event before the tile is rotated to the X, where it is fully exhausted. Anytime you forage an event, you have 2 options. You can either take an event token, or you can draw the top event card from the deck. If you choose the token, then you simply collect it, and once you have 3 event tokens, you can cash them in as a free action for a faith token. If you choose the card, then take the top card and add it to your hand the way you would have for a story card. If it has the immediate icon, then you must play it immediately and resolve its effect, while one with this icon is kept in your hand and played at any future step on a turn. If the event has this icon in its lower left corner, then at any point you can choose to discard it and draw another one to replace it. And if the card has this icon in the lower right corner, then you may discard it at any time to turn it back into an event token. This is the only time after your initial choice when you're allowed to change between cards and tokens. When a beast forages a resource, you may choose to make it specialized in that resource. Take a resource pointer token which matches that resource and place it into one of your bonus circles pointing at the number 1 start space. From this point forward, any time your mighty beast forages that resource, rotate this marker 1 step clockwise and immediately gain any bonus that it reaches. Once the token reaches the final step and you've gained that bonus, then that circle has now been fully exhausted. Leave the token there and you'll gain no further bonuses for it. For circles which have this multicolored pattern around the outside, you can, for any resource forage, place one of these wild foraging tiles. You may then rotate this for any resource you forage, including a different one on each turn. When you reach the end of the wild track, the bonus, in this case it's forage 2 extra resources, must match the original resource foraged. Each single card foraged may result in only one of these bonus circles being rotated. After your beast forages, it may move. To do this, count up your movement range, which is equal to the number of elephants that you've previously placed in this space at the bottom of your board. You may now move up to that many spaces, freely entering or moving through spaces with other players' structures or mighty beasts. This includes entering a space with another player's ark. You may also move into or through these hexagonal pieces on the edge of the board, and when you do, take the event token and then either keep it as a token or exchange it to draw an event card. The 4th phase of your turn is build and trade. In this, you may build any number of the things which are on your player board, or perform any number of resource trades to make it possible, and you may do all of these in any order. There are 2 ways to trade, with the game or with each other, and we'll look at with the game first. Trades with the game begin expensive. They'll get cheaper progressively and then become expensive again. You'll track this down here. Your first trade in the game, you'll spend any 3 resources to gain 1, and then you'll advance your marker 1 step along this track. For your second trade, you'll likewise exchange 3 resources for 1 and advance your marker. Your third exchange will be at a rate of 2 to 1, and your fourth will be a 1 to 1 trade. At this point, you'll follow this path and go back to the green arrow 3 to 1 space, such that your 5th trade will be 3 to 1, your 6th will be 2 to 1, your 7th will be 1 to 1, and so on. All of this changes and becomes more efficient as soon as you have at least 2 camps on the board. When you build your second camp, the marker stays where it is, and then from that point forward, when you're in this step of the board, your exchanges are 1 to 1. Then you move to this section for a 1 to 1 trade, then this section for 1 to 1, and this section for 1 to 1, before moving all the way back to the start of the track. That means all of your subsequent trades are on a 6-step loop of 3, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1. The other way to trade is with other players, and you may freely and openly negotiate trades between resource cards between players, and these can be either even or uneven exchanges. A trade can only occur as long as one of those players is actively having their turn, and only resource cards may be exchanged. You cannot exchange anything else. With the resources you've gathered and traded for, you can build, and there are 9 different things you can build. The costs for these are represented by these dots. The caravan, for example, costs 1 vegetable, 1 limestone, and 1 gopher wood, while stage 1 of my ark would cost 1 wool and 2 limestone. All players have the same costs for basic buildings, but different costs for their ark stages. There are 4 basic things you can build above the line: elephants, caravans, huts, and camps. To build one, you must have one available in your supply. Once they're deployed on the board, they cannot be retrieved. Only 1 player is allowed to occupy each tile with any of these pieces. Blue would not be able to construct here, nor here where green's ark placement token is. However, mighty beasts do not block access, and so blue could build here. Elephants cost 1 vegetable and 1 wood, and they may be placed into any tile where you already have these structures, or into an adjacent tile. Elephants are the quickest way to spread out around the board. For a vegetable, limestone, and wood, you can build a caravan, which requires you to place 2 pieces at once, an elephant and a cart. Like the lone elephants, these may be placed either into a tile where you already have one of these pieces built, or an adjacent tile. Only once a tile has at least 3 points worth of elephants are you allowed to construct huts or camps on that tile. For these purposes, carts count as 2 elephants, so green could build here and blue could build here, grey could not build here. Huts and camps are both placed the same way. For a wool, a vegetable, a limestone, and a wood, you can place a hut. And for 1 of each resource, you may place a camp. There's no limit to the number of such structures you may build on a single tile. Note that for all of these buildings, the position of your mighty beast is not relevant. You can't build where your mighty beast is if it's not adjacent to the rest of the permanent structures which you've built. Only once you have at least 2 huts and at least 1 camp on the board can you start building your ark, and you must build this step by step from stage 1 through to animals. For each step, pay the cost that's shown on your player board, take the matching piece, and build it onto your ark placement tile. Throughout the build and trade step, you may also make any number of these exchanges printed on the board with the faith tokens that you've collected. So 1 faith token for 2 resources of your choice, or 2 or 3 faith tokens for the following build options. The 5th step of your turn is to take 1 or more bonus actions, and this all relates to doing upgrades or abilities from your Mighty Beast board. Options here are: you can spend elephants, and in some cases resources, to upgrade the movement track for your Mighty Beast. This can be done at most once per turn, and do be aware that any elephants you place here are there permanently and can't later be placed on the main board. You may take the abilities or use the tokens which are unique to your Mighty Beast. Here, for example, flipping this one over for its once per game effect. You may choose to do your cargo upgrade. Pay the resources showing on your cargo upgrade and then move this token onto your player board. Henceforth, you can forage 2 resources from your tile before moving instead of 1, which includes twice rotating the matching bonus circle. You may pay the cost showing underneath your mine piece to deploy your mine. This is placed into your Mighty Beast's current location, irrespective of any other players present or its proximity to any of your other pieces on the board. And it will produce one of that tile's matching resources during the activate tile step of all of your future turns. The final option is to pay 1 vegetable to recall your mine from the board, and then in this step of any future turn, redeploy that mine for free into your Mighty Beast's new location. The last step of the turn is the end of turn phase, and this is resolved in 2 main steps. First bonuses, and then the lightning token. With bonuses, you'll advance on these scoring tracks based on how many of the matching type of structure or elephant you've built. So to begin the game, everyone has 1 hut and 3 elephants, while if during this turn you built your next 3 elephants, you advance 1 step on that track. In the case of caravans, the elephant which is part of the caravan counts only towards the caravan track. The pieces which upgrade your Mighty Beast board do not count toward these bonuses. Many spaces have bonuses in their top right corners. Here, for example, it would be an event token. Here it would be 2 resources of your choice, and so on. When you enter one of these spaces, you unlock the bonus, but you don't yet gain it. Instead, place any such bonuses in this section beside your beast board. Now advance the lightning marker 1 step clockwise around the board, and all players resolve any icons that you reach. On 4, for example, all players would gain a wood. At step 8, each player may make the choice between a wood and an event, which, as usual, could be a token or a card. At 22 in the 2-player game, each player would draw and resolve a story card of the appropriate type. When the lightning bolt crosses one of these diamonds, then all players must count up the number of resource cards they have in hand and discard down to this number. This will be 7 early in the game and 8 later on. All of these precede spaces which show the lightning bolt icon. We saw this earlier. This tells the lightning token where to go if a sin or mercy card is drawn. It is not an icon which is resolved in this step. However, for this icon here, players now collect or resolve any bonuses from the bonus track which they've collected here. Finally, be clear that any icons on this track are resolved only if they are reached during this step. When this marker advances or moves back for the sin or mercy token, anything that it crosses or reaches is ignored. If at the start of your turn the lightning token is at step 30 or beyond, then you'll begin your turn by flooding 1 tile. If it's reached step 36 or beyond, then you'll begin by flooding 2 tiles. For each tile you have to flood, roll the dice. If you get either of these 2 indecisive rolls, re-roll it until you don't. Then choose an unoccupied tile matching either a resource or a tool which you rolled, and flip the tool token over to its flooded side. The tile is now permanently flooded even if the lightning bolt goes back before the start of the flood due to a mercy card, and the tile may no longer be activated, foraged, or even moved into by a mighty beast. The game ends immediately when one player has constructed the animals on a completed arc, or the lightning token reaches 40. Players now score points for each piece they've constructed on the main board. 1 point per elephant, 3 per caravan, that is the elephant cart combination, 4 per hut, 5 per camp, 9 per arc stage, 5 if they built the animals, with 2 points for each leftover faith token. The player with the highest score wins. For a speedier opening to the game, you may choose to use the bonus crates. If you do these, flip these bonus crates so that the numbers are face down, shuffle them up, and distribute them randomly around the board before choosing starting locations. You gain a crate when you build an elephant, a caravan, or have a mighty beast in a crate space. You can now look at the number on the crate, and on any turn you may reveal it and cash it in for the bonus shown on this card. And that's how to play the Flood.
Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button. Please, if you find this video useful, let us know if you have any questions and comments, and see you in our next video. Bye!